Okay, in this video we're going to look at the 2022 overhead apportionment and job costing question. So let's take a quick read through it. So Hayes Limited trades as a manufacturing firm and has 4 departments: Production 1, Production 2, Service A and Service B. The following costs relate to 2022. So here we've got indirect materials, indirect labour, factory canteen, rent and rates, light and heat, machine maintenance, plant depreciation. You can see the total costs here, and here you can see the 4 departments. So the first 2 are the production departments, second 2 are the service departments. And so service departments can be, maintenance department, finance department, any kind of service department at all. They're the departments that assist in the production departments actually working. Okay, so service departments are there to support the production departments. All right, so the following information relates to 4 departments. So you've got different information here: floor area in square meters, volume in cubic meters, book value of plant, number of employees, machine hours and labour hours. And you can see that you've got the totals there, and then they're split up into the production 1, production 2, Service A, Service B. Okay. Then it says service department costs are to be transferred to production departments on the following percentage basis. So service here, they're secondary to the production departments. Any costs that we incur in the service departments will have to be put into production 1 and production 2, because service departments don't make the money. They cost the company money. The only departments that make the company money, really, production departments, okay, because they're the ones producing the good. Okay, so that's what this is about here. So it's just telling us how we're going to split that up. Next, we have information here. Job number 310 has just been completed. The details are production 1, we've got 12,000 direct materials, 2,600 direct labour, 55 machine hours, 36 labour hours. In production 2 department, we've got 2,600 direct materials, 7,000 direct labour, 20 machine hours, 80 labour hours. And then the company budgets for a profit margin of 25%. Okay, so what are we required to do here? So part A is asking us to calculate the overhead to be absorbed by each department, stating clearly the basis of apportionment used. Part B is saying transfer the service department cost to production departments 1 and 2. C is calculate a suitable overhead absorption rate for each department. D is calculate the selling price for job number 310. E, part 1, explain why overhead absorption rates are based on budgeted rather than actual costs. And then 2, explain under absorption of overheads and how it might arise in a manufacturing firm. Okay. So first of all, then we'll just get stuck into calculate the overhead to be absorbed by each department, stating clearly the basis of apportionment used. Okay, so what does that mean, right? So apportionment, right, what you have to do here is select a suitable basis of apportionment for each overhead. So these are the overheads here. How can we split these up? You see the first 2 have been done for us, right? 420 has been split up, 200 into production 1, 120 into production 2, 50 into service A and 50 into service B, and that is equal to 420. The indirect labour 625 has been split up, 300,000, 250, 45 and 30. Okay, so what we have to do here is select a suitable basis of apportionment for each overhead. So in this question, indirect materials and labour have been proportioned for you already. It's necessary for you to apportion overheads between departments using a suitable basis of apportionment. What do you think you will use? Okay, so we're going to look at the second table in this question to decide how we're going to split them up. So apportionment is where overheads cannot be specifically identified but are shared or divided between departments using an appropriate basis of apportionment. Okay, so we have to look at factory canteen and we have to say, right, of these 6 here, which is the most suitable for us to split up the 50,000? Would it be floor area in square meters, volume in cubic meters, book value of plant, number of employees, machine hours, or labour hours? So hopefully you will think the number of employees, okay? Because factory canteen, all the staff eating there, that's the easiest and best way to split that up. Rent and rates then. So it will be floor area in square meters, volume in cubic meters, book value of plant, machine hours, or labour hours. So rent and rates will be floor area in square meters. Okay, so floor area in square meters because we rent out per square meter. Then light and heat then. Okay, so light and heat is next, 75,000. How do we split that up? It would be volume in cubic meters, book value of plant, machine hours, or labour hours. Hopefully you will know that it is volume in cubic meter because we have to like heat the whole entire space. So not just the floor area, it'll be like all of the air in the factory will be heated there. Okay, and lit up. Okay, machine maintenance then. Book value of plant, machine hours, labour hours. Hope you'll think it is machine hours. Then plant depreciation. It's going to be book value of plant or labour hours, and the most obvious one then, book value of plant. So what you're going to be doing into your answer book is, this is going to be part A here, and what you see here written out, you're just taking this this table, the first table in the question, and you're just adding in an extra column. Okay, so you don't have to line all of this out or anything, just make sure it's nice and neat in the copy, in the answer booklet, but just write basis of apportionment here, and you're just going to write the employees, floor area, volume, machine hours, book value of plant, and usually they go for 1 each, so you've got 5 marks there already. Then what we're going to do, we're going to split up the 50, the 64, 75, the 28 and the 81 using the basis of apportionment that we've decided and using the information from this table, which is the second table in your question. So if we look at factory canteen, we decided we were going to split it up using the number of employees. So there's 120 total, and there's half of them, so 60 in production 1, then 42 in production 2, 15 in service A, and 3 in service B. So we're going to put it in, right, into, we're going to split up the factory canteen, the 50,000, using those, that breakdown there. So 120 total, half of them are in production 1. So half of that would be 25,000, which is going to go into production 1. Then you've 42,000, so it would be 50,000 multiplied by 42,000 divided by the 120 total. That'll be 17,500 goes into production 2. Then service A, 15 out of the 120. So 50 multiplied by 15 over 120, 6250. And then 3 divided by 120 multiplied by 50 is 1250. So if we added them all up, 25 and 17,500 and 6250 and 1250, that is 50,000 altogether. Next then, we have rent and rates, and we decided that we're going to split it up using floor area. So you can see here 20,000 square meters are in production 1, 16,000 are in production 2, 2,000 are in service A, and 2,000 are in service B. So 40,000 in total. So let's split that up. So 64, half of them are going to go into production 1, so 64 multiplied by 20 over 40. And then into production 2, we've got 16,000, so 64 multiplied by 16,000 over 40,000 is 25,600. Then we've got service A, 2,000 over 40,000 multiplied by 64, that's 3,200. And then we've got the exact same, 64 multiplied by 2,000 divided by 40,000 is 3,200. So that is the rent and rates done. Next, we'll split up the light and heat, and we decided to use the volume in square meters for that. We'll see we have 75,000 to split up, and so we'll split it up using this basis here. So those 48 total, half of that was in production 1, 16,000 was in, a third was in production 2, and then 6,000 was in service A, 2,000 in service B. So we're just using the calculator flat out here. So 75,000, which we have here, multiplied by 24 over 48, 37.5. Then production 2, we've 16,000 over 48, 75 multiplied by 16 over 48 gives me 25,000. Service A, we'll have 75 multiplied by 6,000 over 48 is 9375. And then service B, 75 multiplied by 2,000 over 48 is 3125. And so that is the light and heat done. Next we have machine maintenance and machine hours. Okay, so there's 28,000 total, 28,000 euro total. There's 84,000 machine hours in total. Half of them are in production 1, and then not half of them, sorry, 48,000 are in production 1 and 36,000 are in production 2. So 28,000 multiplied by 48 over 84 is 16,000, and then 28,000 multiplied by 36 over 84 is 12,000, and we have nothing in service A and service B there. Next we have the plant depreciation. So we've got 81,000 total, and we need to split that up. So we've got 264 euro total, 110,000 of that is in production 1, 88,000 is in production 2, 33,000 is in service A, 33,000 is service B. So 81,000, right, multiplied by 110 over 264 is 33,750, and then 81 multiplied by 88 over 264 is 27,000, and then 81 multiplied by 33 over 264 is 10,125, and then 81 multiplied by 33 over 264, 10,125. So we have now got our table done. What you need to do is you need to take great care and check it all twice. You need to make sure that you have used your calculator correctly. Okay, you have to you have to just check it twice, because even H1 students will make mistakes in the calculator, and then, you know, they'll lose valuable marks then, which are really easy to calculate, but just human error will make that happen. Okay, what you're asked to do then, when you got all these done, what you're going to do is you're going to total up each of the headings. Now don't forget to add in the ones that were already done for you, the indirect materials and the indirect labour at the top. When you get those added up, make sure that you double check them then again. Okay, so you'll have total in production 1, 644,250, total in production 2, 477,100, total in service A, 123,950, and total in service B, 97,700. So that's all of that totaled up, right? Part B then, transfer the service department costs to production departments 1 and 2. So earlier I said that we're going to have to get rid of the service department costs, because service departments cannot recover costs. They are secondary only to the production departments. The production departments are the departments that make the business money, right? So we have to absorb all of the costs. We have to reapportion all of the service departments costs into the production departments. So that's just actually what I said there. So service departments such as maintenance, finance and sales, for example, can't recover costs. Service departments are secondary to production departments, and as a result, service department costs must be transferred to production departments on an equitable basis, for example, machine hours. Overheads can only be recovered through production, i.e. they are included as a cost of production. Okay, so you've done part A, this is part A here, right? And what we can do then, we can just write part B here. Okay, so we can just kind of continue on from what we've been doing. Now this is the information from the question that we're going to use. So service department costs are to be transferred to production departments on the following percentage basis. So service A, production 1, 60%, service or production 2, 40%. And then service B, 35% goes into production 1 and 65% into production 2. So we're going to reapportion service A. We're going to take the 123,950 here and we're going to split it up 60%, 40%. So into production 1, 74,370 and production 2, 49,580. So we've done service A. Now to do service B. So service B, service B, we're going to take the 97,700 away here, and we're going to split it up 35,65. So 34,195 will go into production 1, and then 63,505 will go into production 2. So in total, what we've got then, when we tot these all up here, we have 752,815, and then 590,185 then for production 2. So they're all of the costs then that we can attribute then to production 1 and production 2. So we've cleared the costs from service A and service B. We've nothing left because they cannot recover costs. So that is part B. Part C now is asking us to calculate a suitable overhead absorption rate for each department. So that just means a rate per hour. So a rate per hour. Okay, so what is the rate per hour on that? Okay, how can we break down those huge figures? How can we break down 752,815 and 590,185 into hours? Why do we want to do this? First of all, right? Why do we do this? So all overheads must be absorbed into the cost of a product. So like even one product, right? We can't cost one product 752,815 and 590,185. We need to break it down to a per product basis, right? So where overheads have been apportioned to departments, the absorption rate is based on some activity shared by departments, for example, direct labour hours or machine hours. So absorption is the method by which costs are charged to cost units or units of products in order to be recovered. An overhead absorption rate for each department can be calculated using a suitable basis such as rate per unit, per labour hour and per machine hour. So look, what we're going to do, we're going to choose which absorption rate to be used. In this question we have machine hours and we have labour hours, so they're the ones that we're going to use, right? So in a machine intensive department we're going to use a per machine hour rate. In a labour intensive department we're going to use a per labour hour rate. So this is going to be part C now, okay? So we're going to do part C, okay? So we're going to have a look at production department 1 first. We can see here we've 48,000 machine hours and we've got 42,000 labour hours. So the most dominant activity there is the machine hours. In job number 310, where they're talking about machine hours and labour hours as well, in production 1, right, we've 55 and we've 36 labour hours. So 55 machine hours, 36 labour hours. So 55 machine hours is the most dominant activity there as well. So they are consistent with each other. Okay, so that is that's good. So we're going to divide that 752,815 by 48,000 machine hours, and that's going to give us €15.67 per machine hour. So we've broken that down now. We've done part C for production 1. We've broken it down into a per hour basis. We have used machine hours because that is the most dominant activity. Okay, next then, the 590,185. Okay, so 590,185. So how do we break that down? Production department 2. So here's our hours. We've got 36,000 machine hours, 74,000 labour hours. So the labour hours then is the most dominant activity there. So the labour hours 74,000 is what is the most dominant activity there. And we'll have a look down here as well, and we can see in job number 310, labour hours is the most dominant activity also. So we're going to go up to our 591.85 and we're going to divide it by 74,000 labour hours. And that's going to give us €7.98 per labour hour. So we've broken that down into a per hour basis. So that is part C done. We're after doing what they asked us, okay? We're after calculating a suitable overhead absorption rate. So just a per hour basis. So we just have to find what's the most reasonable way to split it up. Well, which is the most dominant activity, and we found them. And then we use that to find a per hour basis. Right, Part D, calculate the selling price for job number 310. Okay, so at the bottom of the question here, we have job number 310 has just been completed. The details are, so we've got the details for production 1 and production 2. Now, we're going to forget about the labour hours here for production 1, and we're going to forget about the 20 machine hours for production 2, because we're using the most dominant activity in this. We've broken things down to a per hour basis and we've used the most dominant, so we are going to just keep focusing on the most dominant activity here. Like the labour hours, the 36 labour hours, those people will be working while these machines are on. And then likewise, these 20 machine hours here in production 2, they will be on while the 80 labour hours are happening as well. So we're just going to go with the most dominant hours here, okay? And it says the company budgets for a profit margin of 25%. Okay, so let's go. So selling price of the job. So we've got the materials first, 12 and 2.6, that's 14.6. Then we've got labour, 2.6 and 7, 9.6. So the total there, prime cost, 24,200. Next, remember, we're going to just look at the most dominant stuff. So in production 1 then, the overheads are 55 machine hours multiplied by the rate that we got in part C, which was 15.68, and that is €862.40. And then production 2, we've got 80 labour hours multiplied by €7.98, that is €638.40. So when we all add all of these together, right, we're going to get the cost of the job, which is 25,700. Now, that represents 75% because the company budgets for a profit margin of 25. So 75% is 25,780. Profit margin of 25% gives us 8,566.93, and that gives us then selling price of job number 310, which would be 100%, and that gives us 34,267.73 euro. Okay, so that's how we would do the selling price of the job. So that's part D done. Last then we have theory. So remember, you're not going to be getting H1s in accounting without knowing your theory. So remember, go over your costing theory, okay? So maybe take out your costing theory notes and give them a quick 10-minute read now as well. Okay, so E part 1. Explain why overhead absorption rates are based on budgeted costs rather than actual costs. Okay, so we're coming up with rates per hour before the job actually happens. Why do we do this? Okay, why do we do this? We do this because we don't know the price of the actual job until we get granted the job and we do the job. Like if a customer is looking for a quote from us for a job, we have to give them budgeted figures because we don't have a clue. We haven't done the job yet. We don't know how much it actually costs. So we have to be able to quote them a price for a future potential job. And we don't know what the actual costs are. So they have to be based on budgeted costs. So let's take a read at what was in the marking scheme. Overhead absorption rates are based on budgeted costs rather than actual costs because the product needs to be costed at the time of order, but actual costs may often not be known until the end of the year. A business cannot wait until then to set the selling price of a product for a customer. That makes complete and utter sense. Okay? Now, part 2 then, explain under-absorption of overheads and how it might arise in a manufacturing firm. Okay. So under-absorption is when costs are under-recovered. Budgeted costs are less than actual costs. This may be due to actual labour hours used in the manufacturing process could be higher than budgeted for. There could have been errors in estimating overheads. Overhead expenses are higher due to unforeseen events, for example, oil prices higher in world markets or depreciation of assets higher than estimated. There could have been unexpected changes in method of production causing higher than expected prices. For example, more fuel required to power machines. And then cleaning costs have increased due to the wages of the staff increasing because of inflation. Okay, so look, costs are under recovered. Budgeted costs are less than actual costs. Light and heat costs have increased due to oil and gas prices rising. Insurance costs have increased due to higher premiums as a result of higher risks. Transport costs have increased due to diesel prices increasing. So look, this is basically just why are budget costs less than actual costs? Why are actual costs more? So you can come up with any number of examples here. Depreciation expenses have increased due to higher expenditure on fixed assets. Okay, so that is the 2022 overhead apportionment and job cost in question. Hayes Limited, completely done.